Hey, this is Nick with Ultimate Motorcycling. We just wrapped up riding the 2018 Aprilia Shiver 900 and the Aprilia Dorsoduro 900. These bikes have been an absolute blast. We got to test them out on Highway 33 in Ojai, California in the surrounding Los Padres National Forest. And what I can tell you so far is that both of these bikes, despite sharing a power plant, offer vastly different experiences. The Dorsoduro is obviously the super motard inspired bike, very much the hooligan type machine, while the Shiver is a bit of an all-arounder, great for hitting the canyons, as well as getting in there and just, doing the daily grunt work of your commutes and so on. Okay, so before us is the 2018 Aprilia Shiver. And a lot of what I'm going to say about the critical components such as the engines and electronics apply to both the Shiver and the Dorsoduro. But let's stay on topic here and just talk about this upright sport machine. Ergonomically, it's actually quite comfortable. It does have a sportier riding position, but with my height of 5'10" and my inseam of 32 inches, I was really comfortable throughout the day. We did about 8 hours on the bike, getting on and off for photo shoots and stuff like that. But when in the saddle and being able to push the bike, I was completely comfortable. Another thing that I really loved about this bike is the power plant itself. Aprilia redesigned the motor, and it really shares nothing in common with the previous generation 750 V-twin. Now they've jumped up to the 900 V-twin, and it's a completely redesigned engine. So they've gone through and changed a lot of aspects of the bike, but more importantly, they've just made it a much more smooth machine. So from the depths of the rev range, we're talking maybe 2,500 RPM, you can get on the gas and it rolls all the way to the red line, pulling pretty much all the way through, except maybe just at the bitter end, but that's about it. It's really smooth, and the way it delivers power is just in a very tractable manner. So it's quite accommodating for a wide variety of riders and skill levels. So I think a lot of people are going to be happy with that aspect of the bike. Moving on to its suspension and handling, the bike handles really well. You get into some of these corners and it's really stable and planted. I will say that the current 41mm fork and the Sachs shock, they're set up pretty much for urban riding, a bit more on the comfort side. However, they are adjustable. So if you want to get in there and start tinkering with things and stiffen it up so you can get more out of it in the canyons, or if you wanted to take this for a track day, that's something you could totally do, which makes this bike even more appealing to a wide variety of people because it can do, the sport riding, the commuting, and if you really wanted to go and throw some grippier tires on there and get a track day or two in, you'd be able to do that as well. But yeah, it's been quite impressive throughout the day. Braking power is, again, another one of those things that's a very user-friendly aspect of the motorcycle. It doesn't take a lot of effort to get on the brakes, even when you really need to get in there for a tight corner or something like that. You get a lot of feedback, so trail braking isn't something that is really off-put from a bike like this at all. You can do it really well. It is using some proprietary calipers, but we're seeing a 320 rotor up front and a 240 in the rear. In both cases, really good feel, very progressive build in the brake lever, and there's no shocking bite. You're not going to get this massive stabbing movement or anything like that, so it's really great. It's going to be really accommodating. Another thing that they added that's a massive improvement over the previous generation Shiver is the TFT display. That also ties into the fact that they've updated the ECU to the same electronics that are on the venerable 2.0 and the RSV4. So the throttle response is absolutely perfect. Again, it's really precise, but it's not snatchy in any way. There's no vagueness there at all. It's, for lack of a better word, it's pretty much perfect. That I have to give it to Aprilia on that on pretty much all fronts. The electronics package is a little bit slimmed down for those of you that might be familiar with the RSV4 or the 2.0. So we're seeing 3 engine maps: Rain, Sport, and Tour. And basically that changes the throttle application. And you also have 3-level traction control and ABS. So that pretty much handles it in terms of electronics. And in the lowest setting, they're not really invasive, so I use them pretty much throughout the day. In the upper settings, they do tend to step in a little bit more. That said, the Shiver is something that I really enjoyed today, so hopefully we can get one of these on long-term testing, and we'll get back to you guys on that one. But if you have any questions about this bike, make sure you guys leave them down below. We're gonna move on to the Dorsoduro 900 now. So let's get on over there. Okay, so moving on, we have the Dorsoduro 900 with us. Again, this is the super motard from Aprilia's lineup. The Dorsoduro has been in the family for a number of years now, but it hasn't really seen an update until the 2018 model year. You know, right off top, this bike is a very aggressive machine, but it is pretty user-friendly, despite the fact that it has a taller seat height. So you're gonna need a slightly longer inseam. Again, with my 32-inch inseam, I'm kind of on my tiptoes, but it's still easily, you know, manageable when you're coming up to a stop or anything like that. Just because of its upright riding position, it's really comfortable. You know, it has kind of this flat riding position. When you're in corners, you can get your knee up on the gas tank a little bit. You know, it's very, very comparable to, you know, any dual sport, dirt bike, anything like that. So if you're familiar with that genre of riding, you're gonna feel right at home. Now, despite the fact that the Dorsoduro 900 shares the same power plant as the Shiver 900, there are, you know, differences that give it a vastly different personality. So for example, the primary drive is a different ratio than the Shiver, giving the Dorsoduro the ability to spin up a lot faster. So, you know, it kind of lends itself to that whole hooligan personality. It's definitely the wheelie machine of the two. That said, it shares the same ECU, and throttle response, you know, fueling, all of those things are pretty much impeccable. I can't complain about that at all. Suspension-wise, they did jump down to a 41 millimeter versus a 43 on the previous generation Dorsoduro. That's actually shaved off a little weight from the overall package. And as it stands, I would find that I think the rebound might be a little bit fast, so it does unsettle the bike at really high speeds, but this bike is actually quite confident, but you gotta work with it a little bit to get the most out of it. So that's another thing that I really enjoy about it, is the harder you push it, kind of more you get in return. And that's something that any aggressive rider is really going to enjoy. It has the same TFT display, the full color TFT as the Shiver and the 210 and the RSV4. And that's really improved just the user experience overall between both bikes. So you can get in there and the menu is now easy to navigate versus the previous generation. You know, things can be adjusted on the left-hand controls quite easily. It's great. It doesn't have the highly advanced electronics as the 210 on the RSV4. We're seeing, again, 3-step traction control and ABS. But, you know, for the type of riding you're going to be doing on this, I think it's just, you know, a pretty solid package overall. So I had an absolute blast on both of these bikes today. We kind of finished up our day on the Dorsoduro and got pretty aggressive in the canyons, and I can't complain about any of it. I just had so much fun on these bikes. So again, as always, we really encourage all of our readers and viewers to get out there and try these bikes out for themselves. And if you guys have any questions, make sure you drop them down below, and go ahead and check out Ultimate Motorcycling for any reviews on gear or bikes or anything else like that. But we always like to remind you guys, be safe out there. So this is Nick, signing out. Take care.